Hi guys, I hope you're all doing really well. My name is Sarah and welcome back to What the Horror, the channel where we talk about horror movies old and new. So as you probably saw from today's title, today we are taking a deep look into a character from one of the most famous horror franchises spanning 4 decades. Today we are going to analyse Michael Myers. Halloween is the 44-year-old horror franchise that is loved by many, often considered the beginning of the slasher genre as we know it today, and that is continually associated with the holiday of the same name. The original Halloween was written by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. Carpenter also directed the film and wrote the original score. The movie was filmed on a budget of $300,000 and made $70 million worldwide at the box office. The original Halloween opens on Halloween night 1963, where a 6-year-old boy, Michael Myers, murders his sister Judith and is locked away at Smith's Grove Sanitarium for 15 years. Until on the 30th of October 1978, Michael steals a car and escapes, heading back to his hometown of Haddonfield. Once there, Michael quickly sets his sights on his next victim. Over the course of the next 43 years, Michael would continue his rampage on the town of Haddonfield and its poor residents. We would discover that Laurie Strode, the survivor of the 1978 attacks, was actually Michael's sister. We would see Laurie fake her own death and take on a new identity. We would have the introduction of Jamie Lloyd, Laurie's daughter, and of John, Laurie's son. We would learn of the cult of Thorn, who control Michael through a druid's curse using rune symbols. We would see a new timeline in which Laurie never was Michael's sister and had a different daughter, Karen. Through the 44 years, multiple timelines, and various members of the Myers and Strode family, one character has remained constant, apart of course from that brief hiatus during Season of the Witch, and that is Michael Myers. Michael Myers is the antagonist of the Halloween franchise and arguably one of the most recognisable horror villains out there. But is Michael Myers simply just a human slasher villain, or is he actually the personification of fear and evil? As I mentioned in the intro, Michael Myers is one of the most recognisable horror villains in film history. His appearance is that of a tall figure dressed in blue overalls, boots and a simple white mask. His weapon of choice, a kitchen knife, apart from on the odd occasion when he's feeling a little adventurous and he'll use shotgun barrels, electricity, or even a hot tub. But despite this look being iconic, it is only a very simple concept, but there is a reason for this. Michael's mask, while it looks like a human face, there is also something inhuman about it. The mask is white and blank. It has and shows no emotion or expression, and because of this, it removes some of Michael's humanity. As humans, we convey a huge amount through our faces and through our body language, but Michael is unable to do this, and for people around him, this can be a terrifying thing. As how on earth can you read what he's thinking or what he's going to do when there is no communication, no verbal communication, nor facial communication? The only human element of Michael's masked face is his eyes that are only barely visible through the mask and take on a dark emptiness similar to the glassy black eyes of a shark.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes.
One thing that makes Michael stand apart from his peers is the fact that he doesn't actually have a personality. John Carpenter, his creator himself, refers to Michael as a force of nature rather than a human being.
And a force of nature, as opposed to a human being.
Carpenter wanted the audience to be unsure as to whether Michael Myers was human or supernatural. That's why, in the end scene of the original Halloween, Michael disappears after having been shot 6 times. It was designed to keep the audience guessing. Carpenter describes Michael as having no character, being a blank entity, and just simply evil. Carpenter even compares Michael to the wind. You don't know where he is, but he's out there. He's gone, but he's everywhere.
It's what you don't know about, what you can't see is out there. He's like the wind, he's out there. He's gonna get you.
Michael Myers doesn't become Michael Myers until Halloween 2, and more concretely, in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I mean, his name is now in the title of the film. But in the original 1978 Halloween, Michael is merely the 6-year-old boy. Once he puts the mask on, he becomes the Shape. In the original script, he is only referred to as the Shape. This removal of his name dehumanizes him. It removes his humanity and his identity. In an interview on Behind the Monster, Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Laurie Strode, says that this is, quote, an interesting insight because there is something about that as more of an idea rather than a specific person, end quote. The dehumanizing of Michael means that while he looks human, he doesn't conform to human rules. His human face is hidden behind an emotionless mask, and his human name, Michael Myers, is taken from him, removing his identity. As humans, we often love to personify inanimate objects and create fear or feeling as something tangible, something that we can identify. And Michael Myers is, in my opinion, the personification or the embodiment of fear and evil. Like Carpenter said, he's a force of nature, and like Jamie Lee Curtis said, he's an idea. Michael is the embodiment of fear, chaos, and trauma. Collectively, as humans, we want to feel able to control our environments, our lives, and do all we can to prevent bad things from happening. We desire, and quite rightly so, to feel safe and protect ourselves and others. Michael Myers as an entity, he just keeps coming, and unless he's put in a car compactor, whatever it was at the end of Halloween Kills, Michael can't be stopped. Michael symbolises no matter how much we want to prevent bad things happening and control our safety, in the end, we can't. What's coming is, well, coming. This is reflected in Michael's movements and mannerisms throughout the film, which are almost as blank as his face. He has no flair in his movements, he never runs, he simply walks in an effortless way as though with no exertion. While you may be able to slow him, nothing actually prevents him from reaching you or his target. Michael is the inescapable evil. Michael doesn't have any urgency, except for one moment in Halloween 6 Curse of Michael Myers when he is hauling ass down that corridor. But for the most part, he waits and he watches. He blends into the shadows and his environment with patience. Michael is the personification of the unperceived threat to us that could be lurking in the shadows or just around the corner. In an interview, James Jude Courtney, who portrayed Michael in the 2018 timeline, said, quote, "There's a lot that we don't know, and so that gives the audience the freedom to run wild with their imagination," end quote. Michael's lack of personality and blank canvas appearance, his simplicity again allows him to embody the idea of fear and evil, but we, the audience, we can all individually project our own idea of fear onto him. However, many fears are universal, and so too is Michael Myers. I mean, how many of us will come across a voodoo cursed talking doll, or summon a demon from hell using a puzzle box, or visit a rundown farm in rural Texas? Not many of us, if we're honest, but how many of us have feared a stranger entering our homes? How many of us feel as though we're being watched or followed when we're walking alone? And how many of us think we saw something when we looked out the window? Lots of us? All of us? Because these are familiar and almost universal fears, and that is what Michael Myers embodies. That fear. Michael Myers was born to Peter and Edith Myers. Along with older sister Judith, the Myers family lived at 45 Lampkin Lane in a town called Haddonfield, Illinois. At 6 years old, Michael killed his older sister Judith while his parents were out on Halloween night 1963. He was then locked away for 15 years in Smith's Grove Sanitarium, where he became the patient of one Dr. Samuel Loomis. Then, on the 30th of October 1978, Michael escapes Smith's Grove, and the rest is film history. Michael Myers' strengths are his physical strength, his stamina and endurance, his stealth and patience. We've seen Michael move and carry his sister's tombstone a long distance, lift a human body off the ground using only a knife or scalpel, strangle someone with one hand or arm, and rip, supposedly, a person limb from limb. Michael is able to move around and sneak up on his victims unnoticed, but he's also able to maintain a pursuit of his victims even when they have a head start, even when they are running. He'll catch up to them despite only walking, and there's never any evidence of it being an effort for him. I mean, come on, you've never seen Michael asking the final girl to give him a moment while he catches his breath. But Michael is also able to withstand and survive injuries that would not be survivable to another human being. Michael has been shot, stabbed, electrocuted, and burned, and he has survived all of them. And this strength, along with all of the others, is of a supernatural nature. No human could survive or achieve the same, proving once again that Michael Myers is not a human being, but rather a force of nature, as John Carpenter said. Michael is an unstoppable, unkillable entity, just as evil is. Michael Myers' weaknesses are few, but he does have them. The first one being his endless attachment to Haddonfield and his childhood home. The hold that Haddonfield has on him keeps drawing Michael back year after year. In the 2018 timeline, the Myers house is the driving force behind Michael. His sole purpose is to return home, destroying anyone who gets in his way. In the siblings timeline, Michael's family also becomes a weakness, as his need to kill the remaining members causes tunnel vision, and again Michael is tied to one place or one person. Michael is the antagonist of the Halloween films and franchise, and he's certainly a major character. As we see with many slasher villains, Michael arguably became the main character of Halloween. Michael is also a static character, a rarer type of character, but interesting nonetheless. A static character is one who mostly stays the same throughout the story, not really learning anything or experiencing growth as a character. But while Michael doesn't change through the story, he has the most important role within the Halloween franchise. Michael Myers is the catalyst for everything that happens in the Halloween films and franchise, and whether it was of his own accord or at the bidding of the Cult of Thorn. When Michael stabs his sister Judith on Halloween night, he sets in motion a sequence of events. Michael's role at a glance is to cause chaos, create the events in the story, and cause fear and trauma. But Michael has another role in the story, and that is to provide a level of definition to other characters, and also to allow them to experience their own character growth. For Haddonfield, Michael is the boogeyman. He's the monster lurking in the shadows and the cause of all bad things that happen in Haddonfield. Even if he wasn't responsible for it, he can be and is used as the scapegoat. Humans often need a reason or explanation for why bad things happen in life, or a person to place blame on, and that is what Michael provides to the townspeople of Haddonfield. Michael also becomes the life's work of Dr. Loomis. Michael is the white whale to Loomis's Ahab, that obsessive pursuit with very little chance of success. Yes, Loomis was Michael's doctor for 15 years, but because Michael never has or displays any emotion, we can't know for sure or at what level Loomis registers on Michael's radar. The Michael Myers-Loomis relationship, if one-sided, could be seen as a physical representation of humans perpetually battling evil, with no success or, at the very least, a momentary victory before evil raises its head again. And for Laurie Strode, Michael is the person and event that provides her own growth as a character, which we'll get into more one day when I do a character analysis of Laurie Strode. Over the years, Michael Myers' motives for killing have varied from no motives and random chaos, to obsessively killing off his family and anyone who gets in his way, to being under the control of the Cult of Thorn. But whichever the motive, Michael is usually the centre of and cause of the conflict within the story. Earlier, I likened Michael's empty eyes to those of the glassy black eyes of a shark, and I'm not the first person to draw this comparison between Michael Myers and these beautiful ancient creatures. The comparison being that of a silent, dangerous creature on an ever-forward motion with no emotion behind the eyes. But if you think about it, sharks are not mindless killers. They're natural creatures who kill to survive. They're not evil or cruel by nature. So, what if we kept the comparison of Michael to sharks, but we adjusted it to this more accurate portrayal of the shark? What if Michael Myers is also killing to survive? Okay, I may have lost one or two of you with that one, but bear with me. If we are working under the idea that Michael is the embodiment of fear and evil rather than a human being, then what does evil and fear need to survive? It needs fear. If people in Haddonfield were no longer afraid, then fear would cease to be. And if we're working under the idea that Michael Myers is the embodiment of fear, then Michael would also cease to be. Michael commits these evil acts to make people afraid, and that fear then feeds into him. Fear feeds fear, and making people scared is Michael Myers' existential fight. And let's be honest, we've already seen evidence to back this up in the 2018 timeline. In Halloween Kills, we see a weakened Michael after being attacked by the Strode ladies and left to burn, but once he offs a fireman or two, his strength returns, and by the end of the film's runtime, Michael is able to survive a brutal attack from a mob of townspeople. Within the film, in a monologue, Laurie herself explains, the more Michael kills, the more he transcends.
The more he kills, the more he transcends into something else, impossible to defeat. Fear.
This link between killing and causing fear and Michael's own strength even continues through into Halloween Ends. As I mentioned earlier, Michael is the cause of conflict within the films, but there are a few occasions where external forces use Michael as a way to create the conflict, both intentionally and unintentionally. The Cult of Thorn and Dr. Sartarian in Halloween 2018 both purposely manipulate and try to control Michael for their own purposes. The Cult of Thorn caused Michael to murder all of his family members, and Dr. Sartarian, he releases Michael into the wild to see him in his natural state. And in Halloween Resurrection, Freddy and Nora antagonize Michael inadvertently by invading his territory and filming in his childhood home, and so causing the murders of the people in the streaming show. You could argue that this conflict is still rooted in evil, but this time it's the evils of people manipulating others for their own benefit and of our self-destructive nature, but maybe that's going a little far. Michael Myers is a character whose humanity has been removed through a blank physical appearance and use of names such as the Shape, the Boogeyman, and the Evil. Michael's life has been one of quiet isolation and violence from a very young age, and while he himself never really grows or changes, he has a really important role to play in the story. He creates chaos and conflict, allowing the other characters to grow and develop. Michael's physical strength, his stealth and endurance are all of a supernatural nature, as no human could display that level of strength or survive what he survives. These supernatural abilities and dehumanized identity, and the fact that Michael's strength can be found in and linked to people's fear, all lead to the notion that Michael Myers is not human, but rather an idea, a force of nature. Michael Myers is the personification of evil and fear. If you enjoyed this analysis of Michael Myers, then please don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future character analysis, because more are coming. I am going to tackle the big ones. We've had Michael, but I'm also going to do Jason and Freddy and Leatherface, and I will also be tackling our favourite final girls as well as fascinating individual characters along the way, especially Pearl from this year's X and Pearl, because let's face it, as a character, she's fascinating. But in the meantime, thank you as always for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye, guys.